You guys don't bring Nigerians here, do you?
We have a lot of Nigerians here.
What? You import gay haters into your country?
What's up, guys? Steven here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the interview between Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan. It seems like a crazy interview. I'm going to blind react to it, but I'm recording this after so I can tell you what it was all about before we jump in. They're going to go over the immigration crisis in Britain. They're going to go over free speech in Britain, and they're going to spend quite a lot of time talking about homosexuality and gay.
Could I make you gay?
How hard do you want to try?
Tucker dropping the F slur throughout the interview and Piers being very uncomfortable with it, considering someone just got arrested in the UK for that. So if you like very frank and open political debates, stay tuned to this one. I'll trim away as much as the fat and boring areas as I can for you guys to make it a clean viewing experience and add my 2 cents as we go along. But let's check it out. Here's my blind reaction to Piers Morgan and Tucker Carlson. All right, so Tucker does about a 20-30 minute monologue to start off the video. I'm going to spare you guys that, plus it had 2 ad breaks. But the general gist of what he's saying is that great nations get defeated when the people are defeated. Cites a lot of different things that cause this, like abortion, immigration. A ruling populace gets to a point where it no longer thinks it should be ruling, basically quietly steps away, as we're seeing what's happening in Britain, already happening in Canada, and starting to happen in the US. He also played a clip of a woman being arrested just for praying in her head outside an abortion clinic. With that, we can actually get into the interview. Let's check it out.
Piers, thanks for doing this.
Welcome.
For taking time.
Welcome to my city.
Which I've been so mean to, including in a conversation with you last winter in the Middle East. I'm attacking Great Britain. And I just want to apologize and tell you the truth about how I feel, which is I think that English culture and civilization is the highest level ever achieved by man in history. I really believe that. Everything
it's
about
probably
it.
True.
It's religion, it's language, it's literature. American societies never produced literature. I'm embarrassed to say like what the Brits produced. And so it was out of sadness and frustration and a sense of connection to your civilization that I went on the rant about how much I hate it. But it was hate born of frustrated love and concern.
I'm just amazed you're here alive. I don't think you get it.
Well, they're so passive now, and everyone's like bisexual. What are they going to do to me? Nothing. But I just want to add, and I know you love it. You're a product of it. What is it? How would you describe English culture?
I would say it's not as bad as many Americans think it is, and it's not as good as many people hear when they launch impassioned defenses.
I don't know about you guys, but everything I've seen coming out of the UK does not give me a very good impression of how it is. Like travel vloggers and stuff go there to cities that are basically looking like Saudi Arabia, and then you have all the videos of people getting arrested for random free speech things or TV licenses and reposting the wrong meme on Twitter and stuff like that. That would be like take up arms point for me.
Of our country and our culture and the way things have gone, would like to pretend it is. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. There's definitely been a significant change in the fabric of the country, in the makeup of the country, in the types of people who've come here, the volume of people who've come here. That's obviously had an effect on what this country is. Now, the debate to be had is whether this has been in totality a force for good or bad. And I took your views, your strident views about it when we met in Saudi. And I pushed back quite hard because I live here half of the year at least, most of that time in London. It's always been a very multicultural city. There's no doubt about that. And I don't walk the streets as Tommy Robinson would like.
It has not always been a multicultural. I actually pulled the numbers. It is not. It
in my
was
lifetime.
Very recent. Yeah, maybe
lifetime.
Right after you were born.
In my lifetime. I was born in the mid-'60s. But the way Tommy Robinson, who has a big following in America, the way he talks about it is not something I recognize. Having said that, as I've always said about him, there are issues that he's raised which are perfectly legitimate. The biggest one is population. In the 50s, we had a population of just under 50 million people. And a lot of the infrastructure, like the National Health Service, the NHS, once lauded as the greatest health system in the world, now has to do with a population of nearly 70 million. That is a dramatic increase in the volume of people in this country. And the simple truth right now is our public services are creaking at the seams, and in some cases, like the NHS, pretty well at breaking point.
That's what's happening in the US too, and a lot of people don't want to admit it. I mean, we had 30 million immigrants come in during the Biden administration, and whether you're, for immigration, against it, whatever your viewpoint is on that, adding like 10% to the population is next to impossible for any of these government services to handle. And that's why we've had all these issues. Plus, just socioeconomically, it's impossible to handle. If you have a restaurant or something that's doing well and it's busy every night, if you add 10% more people, it's going to become unpleasantly busy. If you have a housing market where it's hard to buy a house and then you add 10% more people that are trying to buy houses, it's going to become more expensive and even harder to buy a house. It just crushes everything when you add in mass amounts of people. When you're doing it through normal reproduction and civilization growth, then you have, generations to build up these systems as the population grows from more people having kids and stuff like that, like what happened after the baby boomer generation. But when they all come in a year, you don't have any of that time to adjust or build out infrastructure or build out economies or anything else. You're just taking what is already working, sometimes barely, and then shoving more people into it. It does not work.
And that is why there is so much agitation about the simultaneous ongoing issues with immigration, both illegal, with this ridiculous farce of these small boats popping up on the south coast from the channel from France all the time. When the weather's good, they just stream in hundreds, sometimes thousands a week, illegally into the country, but also legal migration. Crazy. And how we've abjectly mishandled that since really the turn of the century. You can chart it back to the Tony Blair years when they pretty well opened the gates to everyone in Eastern Europe. Way too many people came in way too fast. And then after that, there's just been a complete lack of any form of control. And we now have a situation where they've had to try and put the brakes on legal migration coming in, because 2 years ago, we had a net migration in this country of nearly 1 million people. Now, it's not racist, as some people have tried to brand it, to say that that is alarming. A country like ours, if you don't have an effective border, if you have 50, 60,000 people a year coming in as they are illegally on these boats, and then you have a net migration of legal migrants coming in of nearly 1 million people, the already crumbling infrastructure is going to come under, obviously, enormously higher pressure. So it's been a series of...
Yeah, and why I don't understand why people have such a hard time accepting that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Think about it even in small terms, right? Like, if you have an apartment or a house and you have 3 people living there and everybody's got their bedroom and, maybe space is a little cramped, but you guys are getting by, and then you add in 3 more people, it's going to be a lot more cramped. You're going to need more food, which requires more food storage. You're going to need to cook more food, which requires more, kitchen abilities. You're going to need more people showering and using the bathroom. So you might need more bathrooms. I mean, that's why families, as they have more kids, usually get bigger and bigger houses. It's not out of a desire to keep up with the Joneses. It's generally out of necessity, because when you have more people, you need more space and you need more infrastructure and utilities and things to handle those additional people. So I don't understand the people that are on the side of just let everybody come in, open the border up, we'll handle it. Like, that's not how anything functionally works. And it's like, okay, I guess, if you grew up in Beverly Hills, daughter of some millionaire, and you never have to wait for a doctor's appointment because you use some boutique doctor and, all your food's delivered and you have a personal chef that handles all the grocery shopping and everything else, and your life is just catered to, and 100% of your time is spent just doing whatever you want, whenever you want, and you have 40-bedroom house with 5 people living in it, then I guess I can understand why you think, oh, there's plenty of room in America. But how do you have the cognitive dissonance to not understand that that's not the situation most people are living in? That's not the situation of the average American. Most people are living with basically just their bare necessities and barely paying their bills, barely getting to work, barely doing everything. There's no way it can work. And there's a lot of people that would like us to see take way more than 10%. So I don't get it.
Governments, left and right, I have to say, starting with the Blair government, with what they did with Eastern Europe, and then coming forward to successive Conservative governments, and now the current Labour government, all of whom, in my opinion, have handled this so badly that inevitably we now have a lot of people in the country going, what the hell is going on?
I wonder, though, I mean, everything you said is so clearly true, and it was Tony Blair, really the lowest, probably tied with Boris, but really one of the worst prime ministers, leaders of any country ever. But I wonder, I often hear people say, well, it's about the NHS, National Health Service, it's about the roads, it's about, NHS is like a very new creation. It's a post-war creation. It was never going to work. It's never worked anywhere. The Brits were so kind of pathetically proud of it, but it was the whole thing.
It did work.
But for a time, there was work for a time.
By the way, if you walk out of here and you fall over and you break your leg, you'll get treatment quickly.
That's great, but the health outcomes were never better than the United States. It didn't actually work. But whatever, you could argue, but
the cost of it.
But what's so sad is that for your whole life, you've been told that what is Britain? What is this project about? It's about the National Health Service? Well, that's kind of aiming a little low. Like, who cares about some bureaucratic structure? What about England? What about the culture? Like, so in my mind, as a P.G. Wodehouse reader, lifelong, man, self-restraint, duty, courage, patriotism rooted in your religious faith, our Lord the King, a phrase that was common until recently. All of that seems to be gone.
Well, hang on. We're still a very majority Christian country, right? Still 40-odd% of the country are Christians, right? That's a fact. So when I hear America...
Whatever that means. I mean,
it means...
you get arrested for praying outside an abortion clinic. That's not a Christian country.
Well, okay,
that's a
but
pagan country.
there are nearly 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can claim you have a Christian country if you're arrested for praying to a Christian God. That seems like the exact opposite to me. And we know that's happening. It's on videotape. It's well documented. Hundreds of instances.
The country identify as Christian. The more concerning thing for those who have faith is that nearly 40% now have no religious belief whatsoever. Right?
Right.
Then we have a lot of other religions. There's a slight amplification of, for example, the number of Muslims in the country. There are nearly 4 million Muslims in the country. And that represents about 6% of the population. But 43 or 4% of the population are still Christian. So I do think, again, that the over-amplification of the Islam problem, as people put it, or the Muslim problem, has been massively overstated.
Well, that's an op, obviously.
Yeah.
Hate the Muslims. No, we know where that's coming from. Obviously.
I don't like it.
I hate it.
In my high street alone, in West London, most of the businesses would have Muslim employees there.
But also, how is hate the Muslims better than hate the Christians or hate the Jews?
It's all the same.
It's the same.
I mean, I don't think we should hate anybody, but I think the reality of what radical Islam has done in parts of the world, like you can't not see that. So I don't think purely calling it an op. I mean, Islam has grown as a religion over my lifetime more than any other religion. While less and less people are becoming Christian, Catholic, Jewish, everything else, those numbers are dwindling all across the world, and Islam is thriving. The idea that that's some kind of psyop, that there's an Islamic majority trying to take over, like, that's just factually wrong. I mean, there may be psyop elements to it, but there's plenty of Muslim groups that openly say they're trying to take over the world. So I don't understand how we think that's a psyop, but...
I heard you say, and this is the point I come from, hatred is hatred is hatred.
I totally agree.
It doesn't matter who you're hating. The moment you're in the hate game, then I think you're losing whatever argument it is you're trying to have.
I totally agree. But moving off from hate and getting back to the world I live in, which is fear and distrust and gut level loathing.
Yeah.
It's the secular people who are the problem. I've never had an argument with a Muslim, with an actual Muslim. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm a Muslim. We probably agree on a lot. It's the secular self-hating whites that stand up from the table and leave when I'm eating with them here.
Now that's true. I mean, that's true. Like, for the most part, any Islamic person you'll meet, just like any Hindi, Buddhist, whatever else, most people, especially if they're religiously devout in their beliefs, they aren't going to be disrespectful jerks or wish anything horrible on you, because that's against most religions across the world, including Islam. Some people interpret Islam a little bit differently, but for the vast majority, that's against Islam. The people that will scream and yell at you in your streets and burn your Tesla and throw eggs at you and do all that other stuff, those are usually non-religious, liberal white people.
Just saying. And that's true in my country too. But leave that aside, I just sort of wonder, and I'm not hating on the Muslims at all, or bad Muslims or bad everybody. I just think a country is more than its bureaucratic systems, and certainly more than the NHS, which I will never think is impressive, or your metric system, which is
I do think you're wrong about that.
Maybe
but you're not wrong about the state of it now. I mean, I'll give an example. What wouldn't have happened in the 60s and 70s with the NHS is what happened to both my parents recently. So my mother had a heart attack,
right,
and ended up being put on a trolley in an accident and emergency unit, but out on the corridor with 30 other people on trolleys. It was Dickensian. This was like a third world country.
Oh, yeah.
And she got...
That's unbelievable, man. Like myself having a mother that passed away rather unexpectedly, if she had endured treatment like that, I'd be pissed. I'm already pissed because she died during the pandemic and there was a lot of BS restrictions and stuff that I don't think were necessary now in retrospect, and I'm mad about that. So I can't imagine her being on a trolley in the middle of a full waiting room of people sick while she's dying. That's just, that's horrendous. I mean, say a prayer for Pierce's mom there.
Hardly any treatment at all while she was there. Now, when she eventually got up, and this is the apex of the NHS for me laid bare, when she eventually got into the heart unit, she got incredible treatment on the NHS, didn't cost her anything. She got fixed up and repaired. Turned out she had a blocked artery and she was home in 48 hours and was great. My father broke 6 ribs recently. Again, the same story, just kept waiting on trolleys and so on. This is going on all the time.
Okay, so they didn't pass away. They just had life-threatening conditions. Okay, so still say a prayer.
Because it cannot deal with the volume of people.
We have the same problem in our country. All the community hospitals are closing, right? And our emergency rooms are unusable because of illegal immigration. I agree with you completely. I'm just saying if you have a...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know if you guys have been to an emergency room, but me personally, I have a lot of food allergies and other health stuff. Luckily, nothing like super serious, but it's all stuff that, could be serious if I don't handle it at the time. Like obviously if you're having an allergic reaction. So I am kind of a frequent flyer at emergency rooms. I go probably once or twice a year for one reason or another. And it is noticeably different the last 5 years. Oh my gosh. Like I used to be able to go to a ER, and if I was having an allergic reaction, I'd get seen pretty soon. Now, like forget about it. They take my vitals, and if they don't think I'm dying in the next 5 minutes, it's, grin and bear it. It'll be 3 hours. Like it's nuts. I fell recently while I was working on a project at the house, cracked my head open, got a concussion, was like slurring my speech and everything, blacked out for a second. And I'm there with blood all down my face and everything else. And they do a couple of tests on me real quick once I'm checked in to make sure I don't have like a brain bleed. And then they're like, all right, go wait out in the lobby. And I was there for like 4 hours before I finally got seen. I was given some pain meds and some steroids and stitched up. So it's nuts. It's nuts. And that's all from the influx of people like we were talking about earlier. You can't just add, even a small percent of the population can have such a devastating effect on vital infrastructures like that.
A country whose main source of pride is its like healthcare system.
I don't think it is.
Really? Because in the 50 years I've been coming here, no matter what you say, they're like, have you heard about our healthcare system? And it's like, I thought you were about the greater glory of God and like subduing the world for civilization and the English language and our literature and our history.
I certainly think we're about, listen, we'd certainly, I checked a few stats on the way here.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you did. So did I.
Well, this Christmas, give the gift of sleep with 8.
Oh, Tucker, man, I love you, but my gosh, dude, we're 30 minutes in, and this is like the 4th ad break. On top of the YouTube rev, like, come on, brother. Come on.
From the Beatles to Elton John.
They're very musical people, as we often say.
We're a very artistic people. We're a very scientific people.
Yes.
We lead the world, actually. A lot of our universities are in the top 10 in the world. So comparative to our size, which...
Drop in the comments what you guys think of when you think of Britain. I think of them as like a military superpower, but that's, more back in the day before the revolution and everything else. And the US kind of took that crown because they're obviously not now, but historically, that's what comes to mind for Britain for me. I studied a lot of philosophy and writing and psychology and poetry and all of that in college. And a lot of that came out of Britain.
Which is about 1/6 of the size of the United States, maybe between maybe 5th and 6th. But comparative to our size, we continue in many areas to bat above our population strength.
The Brits in the Middle East, in Dubai specifically, are like one of the engines of the economy.
Right.
They're amazing people. I'm actually one of them,
Right.
half. So I agree. You'll never get me to say the Brits aren't unusual.
But the qualities you cited, funny enough, that does resonate with me. We have lost a lot of the qualities, I think, collectively as a country, which did make this country great. And
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I agree with you about that, because I do think that it's become a bad thing to be patriotic about our country. There's a huge war about waving the Union Jack flag.
Yeah, you see the same thing in the US, and it's pretty disgusting. I mean, literally, if you have like an American flag on your car, or if you're, protesting and carrying an American flag, that's seen now as the negative thing. Like, remember during the No Kings, they all had upside down flags or like Mexican flags or anything else until like the second or third day of the protest, when everybody realized, oh, we're being viewed a certain way, so now we need to carry American flags. So everybody started doing that because everybody was making fun of them for they're supposedly fighting for our nation, but they're disrespecting the flag at the same time. You see people very apprehensive to be patriotic, especially in like a protest sense or something like that. You definitely would be vilified for being patriotic. And on social media and stuff, if you show any patriotism, you're automatically an alt-right Nazi conspirator. So it's kind of crazy.
I never see that war raging in the same way in America, right? There's a lot of I mean, I'm not giving an example.
But it will. That's why I'm doing this interview.
Well, it may well, yeah. It was very interesting when I did Celebrity Apprentice. That's where I met Donald Trump. And this was back in, 2008. And the organization that I raised money for, because it was a charitable thing, you had to have a charity, was the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. And they had a base down in San Antonio. So I went down there. And I remember distinctly coming off the plane and seeing a load of people with flags. And I couldn't work out what was happening. I knew it wasn't for me. American flags. And it turned out that they were there greeting every single serviceman and woman who came off the planes from whichever war zone they'd come from, because there was a big center there, a lot of military service people living in San Antonio, a lot of them also being treated for serious injuries and so on. And they were just applauding and thanking them for their service as they came off these planes. You'd never see that anywhere in the UK. That just doesn't exist as a concept to do that. I was very struck by that.
Barely exists in the US now too, unfortunately. I mean, we can all remember the post 9/11 patriotism. It was a beautiful thing.
And, I do think America generally is a lot more proudly patriotic than we've become. We've become almost ashamed of being British in a way that I don't like. I think we should be prouder of ourselves and prouder of what we've achieved and prouder of what we could be. But one of the reasons why people don't feel that pride, I think, is because we've had a succession of what I would say are pretty hopeless politicians
Well, maybe
who
you have
dragged us into a place where people don't like it.
I get it, but maybe you got those politicians because the people hate themselves.
I don't think we hate ourselves. We're just, I think we've had a shockingly mediocre tier of politicians.
But I mean, the sort of increase in British masochism, which has famously been part of your sexual retinue for centuries, cane me more. No, that's just true, as you well know. I don't know a Brit.
Americans love a bit of spanking.
Totally no, not in the boarding school way. But anyway, whatever. The point is, that has increased dramatically since the Second World War. And I have done a couple segments on the Second World War that have been very kind of shallow and not even really talking about the details or whatever. You're a Holocaust denier. Obviously, I'm not. Whatever that means. Hitler killed a ton of Jews. That's terrible. So that's been a diversion, really, that specific conversation, from a much more important, broader conversation about what that war did to the West. And I think it's totally objectively fair to say the West, specifically by which I mean your country, which is really the seat of the West, has been in decline since the war. So, what is that? Do you know?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's been in decline since the war. There was a lot of recovery after the war. It was a devastating war. I mean, one of the most extraordinary aspects of that war is that Winston Churchill, who many people here to this day believe pretty well single-handedly rallied the morale of the people here to help us defeat the Nazis, albeit with obviously America's help, that he, in the end, at the end of the war, he got thrown out of office because so many people came back to a really bad lifestyle. a lot of impoverishment, a lot of homelessness and so on.
Well, maybe were there other reasons? Like,
No, that was why they took it out.
Did Germany attack you first? Was that what happened?
What do you mean?
Did Germany attack Britain? Is that how you got into a war with Germany?
Germany attacked Poland.
Oh, but not the UK.
No.
Oh, okay. Because that detail does get lost.
They wanted.
So you voluntarily joined the war.
Yes.
Okay, right. I'm not defending Hitler, of course, but it's just a fact that you weren't attacked. So when you say that Churchill saved Britain, well, Britain got into the war voluntarily.
Well, not voluntarily. One of our neighbouring European countries was attacked, and it was quite clear that Adolf Hitler and the Nazis wanted to take over Europe. This was an existential threat to Europe and therefore to the UK. So
you're arguing that he would have come for... I mean, I think that's pretty obvious for anybody that studies World War II history. I'm kind of surprised Tucker's trying to make this point. Like, I get what he's trying to say, that, they didn't have to get involved and that's why people were mad. It seems like a very weird argument to make, because I feel like back then, especially with how powerful of a force Hitler Germany was and the countries they were conquering and how fast they were doing it, everyone in the world was scared of them. Like, they were growing at an exponential rate and just conquering territory. So the idea that they wouldn't come after Britain, or Britain should have, waited for them to make the first strike, is kind of a very interesting point of view, I guess.
The UK?
100%.
Even though...
Yeah, I think it's very naive.
Your politicians and there's like not one person who was saying that in 1939-40.
Well, no, Neville Chamberlain wasn't, because he totally misread what was going on. Winston Churchill completely read correctly what was going on and came out of the wilderness to actually come and save us. I think without him...
you signed a treaty with Poland that locked you into a course of action that destroyed your country. I'm just saying.
You don't honestly think the Nazis would have stopped at Poland?
I have no idea. I'm just saying...
That's what I'm kind of saying.
Look, I'm just going by what contemporaneous sources said. I have no idea. Hitler invaded Russia, so obviously that's deranged.
Very, very weird that he's like, I don't get why he's going down this thought track. Like, is it possible that Hitler wouldn't have continued on to Europe? Sure. But like, everything about Hitler and the Nazi regime and their end goals would tell you the opposite. So they might have waited a little bit after conquering Poland to build up the forces to properly take on Britain, but they would have gone after them eventually. Generally, in a situation like that, you don't want to be the one to get hit first, because then you're on your heels and being reactive rather than being proactive and striking before it gets to your border. I tell you, man, Tucker, ever since he left Fox News, I like watching his stuff a lot, but he goes in some really weird directions sometimes.
And incredibly destructive. So I don't know is the truth. He was focused on communism. No one doubts that. This was not a communist country. But I'm just saying Britain voluntarily joined the war. It was a war that you were not involved in and you got in. But my question is, why did it destroy Britain? I don't understand. As the victor nation.
It didn't destroy Britain.
Well, look outside.
Look outside.
We're in the city of London.
Hang on. There's Tower Bridge. There's the Tower of London. Magnificent.
Well, it changed London.
Why do you look at this and see a wrecked country? I don't.
Well, I don't see an English country. So we're in the city of London now.
What do you mean there? What do you mean by that?
It's not... Well, people whose ancestors built Stonehenge are not here anymore. So the city of London is 36% white, and that's happened in the last, 40 years.
But England is about 70% white.
England.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was 99% in 1945.
Okay, so we've evolved.
But you're on the way to becoming the minority in the country. So no one wants to say that. I think you can get arrested for saying that here.
Well, no, that's
not white supremacy. This is the indigenous population of the country.
Well, it's a statistical fact that I think by 2100, we will be a minority white country.
2063 as of today.
Well, I've read a bit later.
But these are dynamic numbers, so they change.
Yeah, but here's my question for you. So what?
Well, let me refer to the beginning of our conversation when you said that the people who live in a country define the character of that country. And then you said, yes, all the things for which we were famous and in which we had pride, like our stoicism, our concern for others, our tidiness, the cleanest country in the world now, it's pretty filthy. all those things change when you get new people moving there. You said that. I mean, you're the racist, not me. So I'm just using the parameters that you set.
I did not say that was down to
no, you didn't say you didn't
white people coming to the country.
Well, that's who lived
I don't believe that.
No, but
he trying to get Pierce arrested.
I said there was creaking pressure on public services.
No.
From the increased
but
population.
you also maybe foolishly admitted the truth. You could get arrested for this. So I know the stakes are high. But you said that when the people who live in a country change, so does the culture, which is like the most obvious. It's like when it rains out, it gets wet. That's not a controversial observation, but it's illegal here because it is true. And my only point is not against. I've already said I like the Bangladeshis better than I like the liberal whites in your country. A lot more. They've never yelled at me. I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying the things that made Britain, England. Is there still an England? I have no idea. Those are going away because there are different people living here. And if you think that those are good things in the same way that the Swedes or the Chinese or the people in Burundi and Chad, they like their culture. It's their ancestors' culture. And now it's gone. And why can't we say that's bad?
Well, because you may think it's bad.
It's good?
I love living in a very multicultural
But
city.
you're rich. I mean, you're rich. And you go to the white parts of London, and they're exactly the same as they were when I was a child. I've been coming here for 50 years. They're exactly the same. What neighbor was saying is exactly the
Which
same.
do you think is a white part of London?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, that's a little test for you. Which area of London do you think is white?
The one I'm staying in right now. The one where my relatives live.
Where?
I'm not going to say.
No, you don't want to say because you know that I'll immediately say, come on, there's loads of non-white people living there. There's no
By the way, I'm not against non-whites.
There's no exclusively white area of London.
Okay.
This is like the hard thing about this conversation because it's undoubtedly true, but a lot of people on the left want to demonize you for saying something that is undoubtedly true. But when you replace one type of people with another type of people from another culture, you inherently lose culture and replace culture. Like, it's the same thing that people on the left demonize white people for doing during colonization and all of that, is they went in there and they took over the culture and eradicated cultures. But yet it's okay when our culture is taken over and eradicated, and showing any inkling of restraint on that is somehow white supremacy and racism, because we don't want to see, all of our founding fathers and everything scrubbed from the history books and scrubbed from the statues and the monuments and everything else. Like, it's bizarre, the cognitive leap you have to make there. But basically, white history, all bad history, any other history, cultural enrichment. How you can truly in your heart believe that, especially as a white liberal person, I do not understand.
There's not.
Christmas season is here, and although it's a bit of a
Oh my
cliche,
gosh,
it really
Tucker.
is important
Dude.
to keep Christ in.
Sorry, he had like his 58th ad break, so I'm going to continue now.
Not now, nor have I ever been. And let me just restate, I think I have a lot more in common with the Pakistani cab driver than I do with the average Guardian staffer who's white.
But you're inferring that the more
I'm not inferring anything.
Well, you're referring to the more multicultural that Britain has been.
No, what he's saying is that your Guardian staffer thinks white culture is evil and should be replaced, and that there's nothing damaging to our culture bringing in a bunch of other cultures, whereas the Pakistani cab driver actually wants to protect and grow his culture in the country, wants to maintain his culture through his generations and his children and his language and their practices and their religious beliefs and everything else. Somehow there's only one culture and one religion and one ideology that is universally accepted by the left to be wiped out, and it is the culture that built the Western world, which is arguably the most successful civilization that's ever happened.
Become in terms of other ethnicities coming to live here, then the worse it's got. And I'm saying those two things,
I'm saying
in my view, are not automatically linked.
And I agree.
There are lots of white people who behave very badly in this country.
Well, I've met them, and they yell at me. So yes, I just for the fifth time, I have more in common with the sincerely religious Pakistani cab driver than I do with anyone who works at the Times of London. That is just a fact. I don't like those people. I don't want to eat with them, and they're white. So all true. All I'm saying is the qualities that made Britain the greatest country in the world were linked directly to the people who live here. And so, of course, by definition, multicultural means less of some cultures because there's dilution of the dominant culture. And you've conceded that already.
There are lots of people who are non-white, who've been born and raised in this country, who've contributed brilliantly
I would never
to
deny
the success of this country, who've risen to the top positions in top industries, whether it's music.
So defensive. I'm not attacking the non-whites. Because you're worried about getting arrested. I get it. And
I'm
by
not
the way,
worried about being arrested.
When they rush in the
worried.
door with
Yeah,
no guns, little bobbies with their sticks.
They might if they know you're here.
Probably.
I'm not worried about
I got
being
hassled
arrested.
at your airport again. And
Really?
yeah, always.
Oh.
Or for
my
being
God.
Tucker Carlson.
We don't know. It's just, it's the AI, I guess. But
No, wait, I love that. What happened to you?
it's like, go see the attendant. And by the way, the attendant was some Pakistani woman who's like, oh, we're so glad you're here. Which I don't think I would have gotten from the liberal white lady. So again, once again, I'm not attacking anyone on the basis of their race.
Yeah, but you're saying
or
that our
their
culture
religion.
has changed because we've had other cultures come here. Is
Well,
that your position?
Well, it's not my position. It's a fact. And you just said it at the beginning.
I think
So it's better. So what about British culture didn't you like and has been improved by new cultures?
well,
Tell me, what didn't you like before? What are you glad is gone from the Britain you grew up in?
Let me tell you, if you came to London in the 50s and 60s, the food was crap. Absolute crap.
Well, it was that way in the 80s when I was
Inedible.
here.
Right. Now, we have some of the best
It's
gastronomy.
amazing. Some of the most expensive, too. I wonder, is everyone eating there?
And no, I can
I
tell
paid $1,000 for dinner
Tucker,
last
you're
night.
a wealthy man leading a very wealthy lifestyle.
Holy shit,
Why don't
all
you
the
come with
food
me?
here is-
Come with me to Brick Lane. Come with me to Brixton. I'll give you a proper meal.
I love it.
And
You and I will go to the tough parts of
spend-
town and eat street food. But
I can give you a great
But
meal.
are you really saying
I'll
the
take you to
food?
I'll take you to the top end
The
of Portobello
food?
Market. Right, you come with me. If you want to risk death walking up to Portobello.
Is that not one of the most pompous things you can say, though? Like, it's okay, we sold out our culture because now we have better food. Like, come on, dude. Food is a need. It's on the hierarchy of needs, but it's the ability to have food, not like having $1,000 fancy, gastropub dinners. Like, that's where you cross from necessity into excess.
Portobello Market. I'll take you and give you some street food, and you'll spend
I've been to
£10.
Portobello Market, and by the way,
did you go to the
just
food
in
court?
point of fact, I'm quite popular there. I will say that.
In
So
Notting Hill?
I feel no fear at all.
In Notting Hill?
Yeah, I will
Really?
eat. Oh man,
I would have thought they're so liberal there.
don't even get me going.
Even I get a hard time up there.
I think they secretly love me because they know that they've been naughty. But whatever, my theories aside, here's my point. What about British culture, apart from
This is a
the
very
boiled
entertaining interview,
menu,
I do have to say.
which was repulsive, do you think, but the national character, and let me say it again, tidiness, self-restraint, selflessness, courage, fairness.
Yeah.
The British system was imported around the world on the basis of one concept, fairness. That comes from the Magna Carta.
I think a lot of
Has this become a fairer society? It's become completely unfair. You put fucking Julian Assange in prison for years without charges. Because the CIA told you to.
We have had a massive rising issue with the suppression of free speech.
Which is a fairness issue.
But that has nothing to do with ethnicity or
Oh,
culture.
really? So what does it have to do with, do you think?
It has to do with a very ridiculously draconian view of what free speech.
It's kind of weird how someone that lives in the country and the politics, and I don't know, maybe he's just, straddled by these restrictions around free speech, but how someone who lives in the society can be so blind to what everyone on the outside sees so obviously happening.
Where does that come from? You've never had
from
that.
Governments.
No, but of course. But those are attitudes that grow from the population, or else you would have a revolution. This is the country that invented free
that's where you're wrong. The population does not want this suppression of free speech.
They may not, but they
Not
keep
the vast
voting for the
majority.
fascists every
I
time.
don't see who would.
Boris,
Well, wait.
whether it's Boris
He's not a
or whether it's Boris.
No.
He's a buffoon. It doesn't mean he's not an authoritarian.
He wants. It's funny you mentioned the word buffoon. So I once.
Well, I mean that's axiomatic.
Well, no,
Boris
I'm going to tell you
doesn't know
why.
how many children he
I'm going
has.
to tell you why. No, because I once interviewed him for GQ, and I said, Boris, this is 2008-9. I said, Boris, I've always thought that lurking beneath the buffoon exterior lies a sharp, calculating political mind that wants to be prime minister. He wasn't even a sort of politician at the time. He looked at me and he said, well, Piers, you must consider the possibility that lurking beneath the buffoon exterior is an actual buffoon.
True.
So he was right.
No, he was totally.
I can't say we weren't warned.
But the point is, look, it's not
He's
like
not a fascist, though, Boris Johnson.
he's an authoritarian.
But it diminishes the word fascist when you say that about people. I get annoyed.
Well, what is fascism actually? I mean, we, meaning the collective West, meaning the Allies, meaning Roosevelt and Churchill, meaning America and its cousins in the UK, were fighting against an authoritarian system. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just about race hate. It was about full control of a population. We were arguing against that and fighting against it. Of course, we were also funding it when we sent money to Stalin, but whatever. It was never fully consistent. But that's what we tell ourselves. And now that's what you have. There were 3 times as many people arrested in the UK last year.
Yeah, that is kind of messed up to think about. Like what they spent fighting in the 40s and 50s is kind of what they have now.
For speech crimes as were arrested in Putin's Russia, and you have half the population. So this is much more authoritarian than Putin's Russia.
No, it's not.
What? How is it not?
That's ridiculous.
If you have 3 times as many arrests for speech crimes, it's more authoritarian.
I've not seen that stat. If that is true, it's because we have been so appalling in protecting free speech.
Well, you're appalling. I'm not, no debate there, but I'm just saying, how do you define authoritarian?
The idea that we are living here in a more authoritarian state than Russia.
Come on. Those are the numbers.
You don't believe that.
Look, I believe in science, Piers. I believe in science.
You think England is more authoritarian than Russia?
I think you're more likely to be arrested for a speech crime in Great Britain, indeed 3 times as likely.
What would happen if you criticized the government? If you went on the airwaves here tonight?
I'm an American. They're not going to mess with me.
No, but if you went on the airwaves here tonight and you start abusing and hammering and mocking and criticizing our Prime Minister, which, by the way, many people are doing.
I'll give you...
Let me finish my question. If you did that, what would happen to you?
Nothing.
Exactly.
But what if I said I thought gay sex was disgusting and should be illegal?
And if you went...
Wait, hold on. That's nothing, Prime Minister. How about I'm opposed to sodomy? How's that?
I haven't finished my question. And if you went to Moscow and you went on the airwaves and you did that about Putin, what would happen to you?
You'd be in trouble.
Right. So there's a difference.
Yeah, I don't think it's worse than Russia. I think Russians are just better trained because it's been going on for so long. I think if you took the population of England and put them in Russia, then those stats wouldn't really line up. But it is very shocking, the fact that they're arresting 3 times more people than Russia is for problematic speech or whatever the heck they call the law. I mean, it's just, no one should go to jail for speech anyway, unless it's some kind of incitement, violence or treason or things like that. Like there's a very finite set of exceptions that have existed for a long time, and that really is the best set of standards, right? I personally think we need to toughen up the civil stuff for like defamation, but that's still not free speech laws. But if you're defaming or libeling a person, like we see the media doing on a regular basis nowadays, I think the civil burden of proof should be lower, and I think the civil penalties should be higher, but I still don't think it should be a criminal issue. Japan has that. There's some arguments that might be a good thing, but either way, I think beyond that, let it happen. Civil law can come in and pick up any of the stuff left over. Like hate speech is a perfect example. Hate speech shouldn't be illegal, but you could definitely make a case for, should we have some kind of civil liability for hate speech? So if you're discriminating against somebody out in public or something like that, you can sue them. Maybe that's the happy medium we need to find. I don't know. I'm not a policymaker. It's just my opinion. Let the people talk. Let discussions be open. Sometimes we're going to say things that are wrong or offensive, and having that liberty is what allows the best ideas to bubble up to the top. Because when you let the idiots speak, they'll say their stupid things and more people will recognize how stupid they are. But if you let the idiots speak and then you silence all the smart people, well, then the idiots become the geniuses. That's the problem I've been seeing popping up a lot in places like Great Britain.
No, because
that's an authoritarian state.
No, that's a straightforward.
This one is not.
That's a straightforward.
This is a flawed democracy.
No, this is global homo.
This is global homo.
It is. It's global homo. This is.
What do you mean?
I'm going to tell you. This is a concept that you need to understand. This is.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. This is the authoritarianism of the present and future. And it's the feline, passive-aggressive female version that doesn't tell you what it is. They don't march into your town in jackboots and put a rifle against your face and tell you to obey. They do that in Russia. For sure. It's much more straightforward.
And they kill you.
And
you fall off a building suddenly.
I think he's making a valid point, because a lot of the aggression towards Western culture has shifted from an overt expression to a covert expression. You went from Nazi Germany wanting to directly attack other cultures, the terrorists in the 80s and 90s trying to attack Western culture, to them covertly trying to overturn Western culture through immigration, birth rates. There's some very famous speeches from the early 2000s from Islamic leaders saying, not with the bullet, but with the ballot. We'll conquer the West with the wombs of our women. Things like that seem to be at play internationally. There's a lot more covert action than overt action. And I think the nuclear bomb and the capabilities of weapons is what kind of led to that, because basically any big military fight against any two major countries is going to end in just global annihilation. And all the world leaders know that. So now they have to win in a sly way where they don't get caught and get bombed.
Oh, you kill tons of people. You kill tons of people.
I don't disagree.
Oh, yeah, you do a lot.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
right. So let's stop with the killing people, because you kill tons of people. But as you well know, because you know the people who do it, and I do too. No, I'm saying there's something more offensive about an authoritarianism that will not admit what it is. So instead, people are arrested here and thrown into jail. And I've been to Belmarsh Prison. It's awful.
I've been there.
It's awful.
It is.
But you walk in and there are all these signs about Trans Acceptance Week. It is fascism
seriously?
wrapped in the Human Rights Campaign rainbow logo. It's not any different from what we were fighting against.
Well,
it's arresting you for saying something they don't want.
I certainly believe, and this has been my big criticism of the woke left. I wrote this book called Woke is Dead, which is more an aspiration than a reality at the moment. But the point I was making was that the woke left became, in the end, like the very...
I think a lot of people wanted woke to be dead when Donald Trump got elected, but the reality is it's too deep-seated in our governments internationally. There's still a big battle to be won against woke. It's not anywhere near dead. If anything, it just took a minor step back. And if we don't keep fighting it and keep speaking out against this nonsense, the suppression of free speech, the overbearance of multiculturalism and immigration and things like this, and trying to prop one culture class of people while discriminating against another culture and class of people, if we don't stop it, it will take over. It's far, far, far from dead.
Very fascists they profess to hate most. They literally behave like fascists.
Yeah.
Anyone that deviated from their worldview...
I don't want you to devalue the term.
No, I'm not. I'm explaining the hypocrisy of the left.
No, I get it.
Which I think we could probably agree with, is if you start to behave like the very people you claim you hate most, you are a brazen hypocrite.
It's not just the left.
Yes. Like, why don't more people understand this? The same people who were marching for free speech and free expression and free love in the 60s are now the same boomers that are out there marching for trans rights and this and that and trying to suppress the free speech of everyone who doesn't agree with them. How do they not see the hypocrisy? Like, the hippie boomer generation are one of the biggest drivers behind the woke mob and the protests. Like, look at any protest video. You'll see the people up front and with the most insane action are always old white women, and you know that they were part of the free love hippie movement back in the day.
It's the right.
Well, the right's doing
unfortunately,
it as well. I agree. Some of the right's doing it as well. I agree. Hypocrisy is hypocrisy, isn't it? Wherever you see it. And I do think that the way I would categorize what's happened here is successive governments, right and left, have pandered to a weird sentiment driven by very vocal but small numbers of people that we have to start getting into the suppressing free speech business. Yeah. And it's been a catastrophic failure, which has diminished this country.
But why?
What we're beginning to see is the coming out of that. And I'll give an example. When Graham Linehan, the comedian, the father Ted genius, right? And he decided to take on this whole trans issue head on. And a bit like J.K. Rowling, he got shamed, vilified, cancelled. He lost everything. He lost his family. He lost his jobs. He lost everything. Became unemployable. Completely cancelled. And he did some jokes on X back in April. And they were just like harmless, right? He talked about a trans woman coming into a woman's space.
Harmless to you as a non-trans person, but genocidal to the trans community.
Which again is ridiculous. So he did a joke about a trans woman coming into a woman's space, and he said, "What is?"
Yeah, I mean, I got to point out, I think I always point this out when this issue comes up, but the fact that like 30% of trans people, self-delete doesn't mean that everyone else needs to watch their speech around them and that speech around them is somehow a genocide. It's a sign of mental illness. Plenty of people in this culture are talked bad about. Plenty of people have astronomically horrible situations that they're born into or dropped upon them. The fact that they're choosing to do that should be a mental health crisis, not a need to block everyone else's free speech. Like, the fake causation here is just insulting to the intelligence of the average person. Most people went through a time in their life where they were ridiculed. Most people went through a time in their life where they faced what seemed like insurmountable adversity. The fact that this one group has such a high rate of ending their existence isn't because of the words coming from other people. It's because of mental illness within that community that needs to be handled.
You just kick him in the balls, right? It was a joke. It was an ear knuckle joke. If you're oversensitive, you go, ooh. Most people just laughed and took it for what it was. It's that kind of joke that wouldn't even be considered remotely controversial 10 years ago. When he arrived at Heathrow Airport several months later, he was arrested by 5 armed police officers and taken off to the cells. And I just found that utterly shocking. So I'm not pretending there's not been a massive problem about free speech. But what was interesting and encouraging was the public backlash. Hence my book title, Woke is Dead. The public backlash was so ferocious that within a week, the police said, we're not going to prosecute Linehan. And actually, they said further, we're never going to prosecute anyone for this kind of thing again. That was a moment when I went, we're finally getting a bit of sanity back.
So the trans thing is absurd. It's so absurd that, like, it's easy for people to say that's absurd. What's actually happening here, as I think you know, is a society is being changed by its leaders against the will of the population. The population hates it. They've always hated it. No population wants radical demographic change. None. And so it's been so profound since 1997 under Tony Blair that you're not allowed to note that your country is being taken from you, okay? So you can criticize trannies all you want. You cannot criticize Israel, as you know. You're not allowed to criticize demographic change, and you can't criticize the rest of the fabled LGBT community. And if you don't believe me, listen to this story, which is like, it's unbelievable. This is from the Daily Mail, which is like kind of a ridiculous publication, but
I love the Daily Mail.
I do too. There's a lot about it I like, but I mean, it's like absurd. But anyway, Elizabeth Kinney from Tranmere. Have you read about this?
Go on.
She's a mother of 4. I think she's a nurse, and she gets beaten up by her boyfriend. He beats her up. She goes to the hospital, and she texts someone, a buddy of hers, a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers, and describes the man who beat her up and sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. It's a faggot. And she's arrested and convicted of a hate crime. The guy who beat her up is not arrested or convicted. And then she goes through this whole kabuki, which is now required, where she prostrates herself before the judge. I'm sorry, it was not a homophobic rant. By the way, you're allowed to be homophobic if you want in a free country. You can have any view you want.
Yep.
But no, because she used the word faggot, she's arrested, and the guy who punched her in the face was not. That story tells you everything.
Well, I don't know that story. If it's exactly...
Daily Mail, baby.
Okay.
Pictures of her and everything.
I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying I need to look into it. But if that is how you've told it, obviously it's ridiculous.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
you don't want to get arrested, do you?
Doesn't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
No.
Is that like gay bashing? What's wrong with that?
No, actually, my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to slide into actually saying derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected. You don't need to...
Well, I agree.
So what? I don't believe...
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly...
You don't have to do it crassly.
Well, I'm not smearing anybody. I just think...
But what, would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using it because you're not allowed to, because you're...
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
I'm allowed to. I just choose not to.
This chick just got arrested for it and convicted.
Right.
So that doesn't have a chilling effect on your ability to...
There are people watching this who will be offended by the use of the word
I'm sure they
shit.
will. I'm not anti-gay. I never have been. I can use any freaking word I want.
By the use of
I don't know, man. Pierce can say he doesn't want to say it all he wants, but the fact that this woman was arrested, like, you can't say that doesn't alter your perception of if you should say the word or not. Even if you're justifying it to yourself that, oh, I'm not saying it because I don't think it's a good word. Like, subconsciously, you know, you also can be arrested, and that's going to change how you speak and what words you're willing to use. Like, I don't think that's really nice to, you know, call somebody that, especially if it's not in like a playful context, in an angry context. I don't think that's appropriate to say to somebody, but people should be able to say whatever the hell they want.
a chick.
Check. Okay, whatever.
How dare you be so sexist comparing women to chicks?
How about this? Let my life, the way that I actually live and treat people, be the testament to my heart. That's how I feel.
Right.
And if I've mistreated someone,
I don't
that
think
is a sin.
you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe you would call a gay person a faggot to their face.
Not in a mean way.
Right.
By the way, the only people I ever hear use the word faggot are gay.
Right.
Ever.
Which exactly what I was saying. Like anybody making a joke or saying a slur or something in some kind of jesting way, I mean, I don't think they're an evil person, and I probably would do the same myself, depending on the word. But, you know, calling somebody a derogatory term out of hate, I don't think should be criminalized, but I do think is showing a lack of moral character.
Just like the only people you ever hear that use the N-word are black.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So if you spend any time around gays, and I have spent a lot of time around gays, who, of course, I work in television. I mean, in fact, half our staff was gay, and they're great people. And they're the only ones who ever said, faggot, he's a faggot. I'd be like, I have no need to say the word. Actually, it's kind of an ugly word, to be totally honest.
You know the argument they use, which is...
they don't use it. They use the word constantly. I've worked with them my whole life.
Well, I wrote a column, for example, about the use of...
But I'm not allowed to use it, but you are? I don't play those games, dude.
Listen, I'm going to make a point. I wrote a column for the Mail, actually, about the use of the N-word, and the Washington Post did a huge report on this and said that every day on Twitter, as it was then, the N-word was used 500,000 times, but almost exclusively by young African-American men.
So it's cool.
Well,
or people in India that have that as
the argument.
avatar.
They've reclaimed that word.
I don't believe in universal rights either. I think certain standards should apply to certain people based on their blood, but don't apply to everybody.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's what you're saying,
no,
dude.
The
standards have to be absolute, or they're not standards.
I was about to make my argument that I made in the column.
Sorry, you're getting me so wound up.
No, but I actually made the point in the column that I don't think that works. I don't think you reclaim it. What you actually do is you empower genuine racists to say, well, if they're using that word, I'm going to use it. And so I felt it was an entirely self-defeating reclamation of that offensive word. I would say the same to gay people. If you constantly use the F word in your own...
What's the F word?
Well, you know what? We've just been saying it. If you want to keep saying it, you keep saying it. I'm not going to keep saying it.
It's worse than fuck, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, though, I would tend to agree with Pierce's point here. Like, I think the whole reclamation of words thing is stupid. I think all you do is normalize the use of it, and then you ostracize another group from being able to use it, which is inherently bigoted. You may think that's a hot take or whatever, but that's just reality. If you're saying only people with my skin color can say this, and if your skin color says this, we're going to beat you up, that's bigoted, bro. That's like baseline, basic racism. Either it's immoral and wrong for anyone to say it, or it's morally okay for anyone to say it. But saying one race or one gender or one creed or orientation or something can use a word, but another one can't, that's like textbook definition of bigotry, racism, sexism, whatever you want to say. The whole idea is BS. Pierce is right on that point. If black people can throw it around, you should be able to throw it around. If gay people can throw it around, you should be able to throw it around. Your identity shouldn't grant you extra rights or privileges, just like your identity shouldn't lose you rights or privileges.
To a gay person, from a straight person, yes.
From a straight person, but not from the gay person?
Well, that's my point. I understand the reclamation argument that they put up. That if they
reclamation,
that they're reclaiming the word and they're disempowering it.
That's fine. I don't care.
Slur.
I think that's kind of amusing, actually.
But the point of disempowerment is to make it so it's okay when people use it.
But is it really about words? I guess that's kind of what I'm saying.
Because I think it empowers people who are genuinely racist or homophobic to then use those words.
Okay, they're genuinely racist and homophobic. I don't care. Why don't you pick up the trash? Okay, that's kind of how I feel. And stop letting people from countries where they can't speak English come to your country by the millions. Like, don't the material things matter? Don't the actual things matter? Your father lying on a cot in a public hospital?
I do think that people, when they come to a country, should try and learn the language.
Of course. But what I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just saying the whole debate about what words are allowed and by whom is, first of all, insane because, again, standards mean nothing unless they apply to everyone because we believe in human rights, not group rights or ethnic rights. We're against that because we're against the Nazis, right?
Yep.
So there's that. But it's also a distraction from what actually matters. If your dad is spending hours, I'm sure he was a Briton, he spent his whole life here paying taxes, and that's what he gets. It's like we should be having
completely unacceptable.
But it is acceptable. That's the problem.
No,
and
it's
instead,
not.
we're arresting that girl for saying faggot.
Well, the two things,
or as we say here, the F word.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't know that story. I'll look into it, but I
It's beyond unacceptable. It should be like wake-up call time, I think, is what Tucker's trying to get across.
do. If that
Does
is,
she look like a faggot user to you? She looks too nice.
come on,
Sorry.
behave yourself.
No, I can't. But
I know you can't.
they're making me want to say that because it's so outrageous that you would arrest someone for a word.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, we actually have to put ourselves at risk to
Tucker,
stop.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well, then help me now. Let's have a moment of self-liberation.
I think you're beyond help.
Hold my hand. We're going to say faggot together. You ready?
No, we're not.
Do you say gay and retard?
Huh?
Do you say gay and retard?
I say gay. I wouldn't use the R word. I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't.
Are you?
My choice. By the
do you
way,
think it
I'm
should be legal to abort a Down syndrome baby?
I am exercising my free speech right not to use that
I
word.
totally agree. I actually don't use the N word ever because I think it's ugly. I just don't
So
like.
by your own petard, you're being.
I kind of agree. I'm mostly
we
making
broadly
fun
agree,
to
don't
make
we?
a point. I actually think that we should not kill people because they have Down syndrome. I think they're.
I'm kind of in a similar boat, right? Like I try and clean up my speech in public, right? In videos and in other stuff. I'm much more crass in person, and I try and bring that out as much as I can, but also I think about the implications of kids might see it, other people might see it, people that don't have the same moral backbone or whatever might see it and take it in a different way. And so, especially if you're any kind of public figure, obviously these guys having a million times the platform size that I do, you have to be morally okay with what the words you're expressing mean to a vast audience of people watching them. So I don't think it's necessarily bad or cucked or whatever that Pierce won't say these words like Tucker's trying to make it out to be. But I do think Pierce should relent to the fact that he could go to jail for saying these words does play a psychological role on whether or not he's willing to say them. If that weren't the case, would he necessarily feel so morally opposed to saying that speech? Maybe he still wouldn't choose to say those words, and that's perfectly fine. But the fact that he could be arrested for saying them is the problem.
Beautiful people. And I think when you get to heaven, it'll probably be filled with people with Down syndrome because they are pure in spirit. And I'm not joking even a tiny bit. I really believe that. But people who think it's okay to genocide everyone with Down syndrome through that alpha-fetoprotein test are lecturing me because I'm using the word retard. It's like, maybe we're missing the real argument. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense?
It does, although I'm pro a woman's right to choose what to do with her body.
Including
and bear in mind that
aborting someone because he's retarded?
In this country, to be clear, abortion's a very settled issue.
George Galloway doesn't believe in it.
Well, no, but honestly, it's not a contentious issue. In America, it's a ferociously contentious issue. It is simply not one in this country.
Well, maybe that's part of the problem.
At all. I don't think it's a problem at all.
Who's having the abortions here?
Well, a lot of people have abortions here.
Right. It's pretty overwhelmingly, though, people whose grandparents lived here. Have you ever noticed that?
Whose people? Who what?
It's the native population having the abortions. It's not immigrants not having a ton of abortions. And if you look at the numbers,
I don't know the demographic.
But that's true everywhere. And just a deeper issue. So, like, what is the loss of the will to live? Why, if you're not having, and you're a huge exception to this. I know you've procreated, as have I.
So this is tying it back to basically the point he kind of made during his monologue in the beginning, that Britain and the native British people, or the whatever you want to call it, the Britain that we knew through 1980 or whatever, is a defeated people.
God bless us both. But a lot of native-born Brits do not have many children, if any. It's also true in the United States. It's especially true in Canada.
Well, I think this is becoming a massive issue, and Elon Musk has been right about this.
Yes.
The biggest problem is not, as we all assumed, overpopulation in the world, but underpopulation, because a lot of people now, especially as the changing way society has gone with many...
I wonder what side was pushing the overpopulation crisis for like a generation.
More women working and so on, that the number of children that are being born actually in places like the UK and the US.
Funnily, it might have been the same side that started pushing a bunch of immigrants into all these countries that they just told to not have kids unless they're really ready because they don't want to overpopulate.
Is reducing quite markedly, projected for the next 50 years. And you're seeing in some countries in Asia, for example, it's getting catastrophically low very fast. And this is going to be a massive
South
problem.
Korea.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
There will be no
South
South Koreans in 100 years. There will only be North Koreans. What does that tell you?
Well, it's not a good moment.
No, but where's that? I totally agree with you and with Elon. And again, I feel like we've all done our part to reverse that trend. But I feel like we spend no time
Do your part. Have some babies. No, seriously though, I wish I had kids younger. I'm gonna try and have more kids. I'm still, a young man and able to have kids, but I wish I had started younger. But a lot of the messaging I grew up with was saying the opposite, that there's too many people, the systems are gonna get overrun, and get a good solid career and this, that, and the other thing before you start having kids. Nah, screw all that, man. I'm telling y'all. It's the best thing you'll ever do in your life, start having kids.
asking, why is this?
Well, don't you think it's as simple in most cases as the changing work practice? If you went to the 1950s,
That's part of it, yeah.
1950s in the UK, most women didn't work. Now, when women go out to work a lot more, they probably don't have the time to have 3, 4, 5 children as they used to.
There's no doubt.
I'm sure
and they
that's
can't
part-
afford it. Childcare is
Right, it's very
more
expensive.
in the United States, it's more expensive than I think any other expense, but for young people with children. Of course, you're right, but there's also something a little bit deeper than that. It's like it used to be just axiomatic that reproducing was not just your duty, but your greatest joy. That was the way you create the next
It is your
generation,
greatest joy.
continue your civilization, and that has died since the Second World War.
Yeah.
And not just in the
No, I think it's
white.
I think that's something that more people have to talk about, man. There is literally nothing as good as having children. Like, you'll never love something more than your child. You'll never experience a greater joy in your life than having a child. You could be the craziest leftist at the biggest coke-filled orgy in Hollywood with all the beautiful influencers. It won't be a tenth of the joy of getting a hug from your child. I'm not kidding.
World. But
inarguable.
but that is like a profound
Well,
change.
what is inarguable actually? I mean, look, like I said, the population here has gone from 50 million to 70 million since the 50s. The really worrying graph is what happens in the next 50 years.
No, but that growth in population has been almost exclusively from immigration. And true in the United States, and Canada is just like a completely different country. Nothing like that has ever happened in the history of the world. Why is this happening?
Well, what, in terms of people traveling around?
No, in terms of people deciding not to pass on their genes, committing mass suicide, because that's what that is.
Well,
Yeah, our families lived in this village for 2,000, since the beginning of recorded history in this country. Unlike mine, you have a native population.
Just because no one could
You're
travel.
the Cherokee of this island, okay?
I don't want to give you a history lesson, but 100 years ago, everyone traveled by horse and cart. There was no aeroplane. You couldn't leave the country. You couldn't go to other places. But rather like tribes 2,000 years ago, who used to literally just sit in their little area of wherever it may be, eventually they ventured out. And
I think that's kind of a BS response, because if you look at like biblical history and stuff, which even if you don't count biblical history, like we know this is historically accurate. Like after the death of Jesus, the disciples of Jesus traveled all over the world, and you had Christianity in the early 200-300 AD all over the place, Africa, Russia, all over the world. So people definitely could travel long distances back then. It wasn't as easy for sure. If it was worth doing, they did it.
so evolution
I'm
continues.
for that. I would never argue
Right,
against
but-
that.
but once-
I flew here, actually.
Yeah, right, of course.
Right.
So once you're able to do that, obviously people are going to go exploring. They're going to want to try and live in other places. The question then becomes how enriching or damaging or both, and in what levels, is an influx of people from other ethnicities, other cultures, other countries. I would say on balance, London in particular has been almost a template actually for tolerance and cohesion and multiculturalism at its best.
The stabbings you're talking about.
Well, let's talk about the stabbings. The murder rate in London, do you know what it is compared to any major city in America?
Probably much lower, I would
Yeah,
think.
it's a
Just
six.
way lower testosterone level here. I mean, you can feel it too.
Yeah,
in the
that's
men's
true, actually.
Every time. Oh, I'm aware.
That's true.
I'm aware. But look, I'm
But
not.
you have the worst murder rates.
Oh, I know. And by the way, we always have, which
Right.
is interesting.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of factors for that. And it's one of the saddest things in my country. I would never defend.
The murder rate in London, for example, I checked before I came and saw you because I thought you'd
You think
ask.
London's a better city than it was 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
Well, statistically, the murder rate is actually been plummeting in London.
Do you know
Which
any?
I'm good. I'll tell you the problem in London. What we really need in London.
Wait, do you think it's a better city than it was 40 years ago, for real?
Yeah.
You think Sadiq Khan's better than what you had before?
I think Sadiq Khan is somebody who's won 2 more terms after his first, because actually he's not done as bad a job as people say.
Oh, that's the new
But
standard.
nor has he done as good a job as he would like you to believe. But certainly in things like tackling murder, I give him credit. In tackling things like the clean air, where some of the boroughs here were the most polluted.
You have no factories. You don't make anything. All you do is banking. How could there be dirty air? What are you even talking about? There's no manufacturing. You lost automotive. You lost aerospace. You lost everything. Steel. It's clean air because people are idle. Actually, they're delivering food to people who work at banks.
There is more traffic now in London than there was even 4 years ago.
I'm sure.
Right. So
that's called tourism.
So my borough, Kensington and Chelsea, for example, 1 in 12 people, there was a big study on this a few years ago, 1 in 12 people were dying from pollution-related illness, right? I had a lot of issues, which I thought were allergy issues. Eventually, I was told, right, here's what you should do. Check your air quality app every morning. When it's really high, don't go out and shut the windows. Secondly, get air purifying machines in your house for the rooms you use. I did both. Guess what? I've had no problem since. And I didn't have any allergies.
Well, that's amazing.
Well,
all it cost was the total destruction of your economy. So why do you think the air was polluted before?
Well,
because people were burning.
Our economy has not been destroyed. We're still one of the biggest economies in the world.
What is the economy here? What's it based on?
What do you mean?
Like what's the British economy? I look at the economy of, I don't know, Wales in 1900, and it's like, it's coal. They dig coal, people burn it. That's what their economy is. Look at the economy of Sheffield or Birmingham 100 years ago. Well, of course, it was steel making. What's the economy?
There's still a lot of manufacturing in the UK.
So they argue back and forth about Britain's economy and what it's producing, and the banking being the main funding for the economy in Britain. And honestly, it was kind of boring, not that interesting. So I'm just going to skip over it, because next they talk about gays and gets rather vigorous conversation. That's pretty funny and pretty enlightening in a lot of ways.
Hang
on, they're not being eliminated.
Of course they are. Look at the birth rates.
They're not.
What are their birth rates?
That's not an elimination.
Of course it is. Over time it is.
That is people taking a decision about their own lives and not having enough children, or as many as they used to have.
Well,
that's not an elimination.
A process.
No one's forcing them.
No.
No one's telling the white population of this country, you can't have more than one child.
Well, that's kind of the point that I'm making.
But they're not, though.
Well, whatever they're doing, I mean, they're certainly encouraging. They're aggressively encouraging homosexuality. Use the F word and you go to jail. No, what is that? You can't. If you want to know who's in charge, you can't criticize. You can't use the word faggot.
No one's aggressively encouraging homosexuality.
This girl went to jail for using a naughty word about gays, dude. They're not encouraging it. What do you think that is?
What's wrong with homosexuality?
Well, if you encourage it and the rate goes up, people have fewer kids. I don't know. Did you do biology?
Well, no. So just to be clear, most gay people don't have kids.
That's the point I'm making.
Right, they don't.
So if all of a sudden you have more people being gay, which you do a lot.
No, you don't. People don't pretend to be gay.
Do you have the internet?
Huh?
I don't know. I'm not saying they're pretending. I'm saying you've got way more.
Yeah, you're gay, right?
Well, you know, we used to say that, but
you don't think so?
Well, I used to think that, but all of a sudden
I think lots of people putting their hand up saying they're trans. That's a different issue.
Oh, it's totally different. It's not part of the continuum. It's not like gender isn't real. Actually, I can pretend.
But it's this. If you,
I mean, you can call this a hot take if you want, but my main field of focus when I was in college was psychology. And I was a bit of a psych nerd and read a lot about psychology, worked at a counseling center, did all that kind of stuff, and mostly focused on deviant and abnormal psychology, because I was looking at working in criminal psychology. In all of forensic and criminal psychology, it's widely accepted that sexual deviation is a choice. It is a learned behavior because of different environmental factors and psychological precursors that happen in line with environmental factors and stuff like that. People becoming abusers for all different types of crimes when it relates to sexuality. There's generally a very clear path of certain cognitive distortions that are then reinforced by certain stimuli and behavior that then lead them to have these adverse fetishes or attractions. So, in my opinion, if that's true for abnormal, why is that not true for what we view as normal? I think people are born with different predispositions, and then based on their environment and stuff, they're reinforced into one direction or another, one certain attraction type or another, and then that is reinforced over and over and over by them engaging in activities in that attraction type. That's the way they view it in abnormal psychology and in criminal psychology. But for some reason, when it comes to whether you're attracted to men or women or anything else, they just ignore all that and say, no, you are how you're born. End of story, period. Sexuality is a spectrum, and that spectrum definitely can be moved by nurture and by nature. To think that it can is honestly idiotic and just doesn't show any understanding of human psychology, basic Pavlovian stimulus reward. And sexual gratification is one of the biggest stimulus rewards we have. So just like you can get addicted to drugs or a certain type of food or anything else, what you derive pleasure from inevitably becomes your preference. Some people may be really offended by that. Personally, I'm a Christian, and so my beliefs are gay people can do whatever they want. It's their choice under free will. I think the correct thing for them would be to, have babies and produce, and that's the most fulfilling, beautiful thing you can do in the world. But if they don't choose that path, that's between them and God. God has the ultimate judgment. I wouldn't ban homosexuality. I wouldn't degrade someone for being homosexual or anything like that. No problem being friends or colleagues or having them work at schools or anything else. But the fact that we have piles and piles and piles of research into how humans react with, stimulus response, there's endless studies going back hundreds of years and how we can morph preferences and morph actions and behaviors and everything else by different stimuli and different responses. But yet the one stimuli of who we're attracted to somehow is ironclad at birth is ridiculous. And I think you find any young man that's gone down a dark rabbit hole on the internet and developed some weird fetishes will tell you that they definitely didn't have that before. There's plenty of videos on that you can watch if you want to get a little more educated. But I think the whole idea of you're born gay and you had no choice, you're born straight and you had no choice is just scientifically wrong. We know it's scientifically wrong, but because of the discrimination against homosexuals and people in that area, the pendulum swung to the other end because people saw that the discrimination was wrong, and I agree that it was wrong. But the pendulum swung so far that people decided to renege on scientific fact and just go with, I guess, what they think or what they feel in their heart of hearts, rather than the fact that you can literally run experiments and, change every other animal's sexuality, change every other animal's food preferences or anything else with stimulus and response. But us somehow humans are unique, that we are only born with one orientation or a dual orientation, but whatever you're born in is what you're locked in. I don't know. It just seems silly to me. I think there's a large portion of people that, if you took them from San Francisco and instead put them in Saudi Arabia since they were a child, that they would have a lot different view on their own personal sexuality. And I don't think that would be them, hiding or denying themselves. It's just your psychology changes with stimulants and response. Like that's how your brain works. Good thing, give you pleasure, make you happy. You want more of good thing. It's pretty simple. We're really basic creatures in a lot of ways. When you study psychology, you find that out. It's kind of scary.
Gay, you're gay.
Well, we were told that, and I believed a lot of things.
Do you not believe that?
Well, it's demonstrably not true because science tells us it's not true.
People are making it up?
Hey,
I don't think they're making it up at all.
So what's your point?
I think that you can be moved in that direction through propaganda and pornography.
Come off it, Tucker.
Well, then how do you explain?
Is there anything that would make could I make you gay?
How hard do you want to try?
Not hard, I can tell you.
Good. That's the spirit, Piers. There's a limit. Even an open-minded man like you kind of hate the gay.
And that's the argument people always use. And then because for the longest time, gay people were discriminated against and considered a second-class citizen, most straight males would say, no, there's absolutely no way I could be gay. I know I was born to love women or whatever else. That actually kind of supported the LGBT community kind of rewriting science when that pendulum swing was occurring. But the scientific fact remains that all of our desires when it comes to pleasure, when it comes to hunger, when it comes to all that kind of stuff is literally stimulants, response driven. So yes, depending on environment, stimulus, early sexual experiences, things like that, that's going to decide someone's orientation much more than their genetic code.
Could I make you
I
gay?
make a little gay joke and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be gay. No.
Why are you using a gay slur? That's fine.
Well, first of all, the context matters. As I've told you, I mean, that's like coffee table conversation between the gays I work with at Fox. Faggot. So if it's okay with them, it's okay with me. It's just it's sort of like it's sort of like racism. Only the whites are upset about it.
People can be persuaded to be gay.
Well, then why don't you explain the twofold or threefold increase in self-identified homosexuals in the United States?
I can. They used to be repressed. It used to be illegal in this country until the mid-60s. You literally went to jail.
So all through history.
Hang on. You literally were put in a prison cell if you were openly homosexual.
That was more here, actually. You guys did Oscar Wilde. We didn't. But
it was
you
terrible.
also...
Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it was terrible. You ruled the world at the time, and now you're a joke dependent on four-known banks.
And you think that's because
but everyone's gay, so it's like a great trade?
So allowing gay people to be openly gay is why we wrecked our
Mocking
country.
Masculinity is the fastest way to servitude.
Totally different
Ask
issue.
any Pakistani. That's why I like the Pakistanis here. You talk to a Pakistani cab driver, and you're like, why are you gay? And they will start laughing because they've watched the video, and they're like, I'm not gay. I'm a man.
What's it got to do with masculinity?
Ask a single Briton, why are you gay? They'd be like, well, I'm not gay, but it would be okay if I was. And it's like, there's no masculine self-respect at all.
You're sounding quite homophobic.
I'm not afraid of gays at all. I'm just asking, actually,
You don't actually think they really exist by the sound of it.
Well, they exist.
No, but are they real? Is their sexuality genuinely?
Are they sleeping with dudes? Big time.
Well, and women, are they attracted to members of their own sex?
Mostly dudes. The lesbian thing is way overblown.
Actually, there are a lot of lesbians.
How many?
I haven't counted, Tucker.
I love this conversation.
Not recently.
This is so great. You're going to get so fucking arrested after this. It's going to be unbelievable.
No one's arresting me.
Okay.
No one's arresting me. But I'm just curious whether you think that gay people actually are gay, or whether you think they've been somehow turned.
For the third time.
I just hate this argument so much, man. I hate this. It always goes up, oh, so you can just turn a switch and make somebody gay. Like, that's not the scientific argument. Like, it's a long process of lifelong stimulus reward based on genetic predispositions. But someone who's genetically predispositioned to like a certain thing doesn't mean they can't be stimulus responsed into liking an opposite thing, and vice versa. You can have people that are genetically predispositioned to want a traditional relationship through stimulus response, then be pushed in the other direction. Like it goes both ways. But, 50-year-old guy like Tucker, you're not going to be able to say a couple words and change 50 years of stimulus response.
I think it's completely sincere.
Right.
Completely sincere.
So what's your problem with
the question, I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I'm merely saying you get fewer children when more people are gay.
No, you don't.
Well, actually, you do.
More people aren't gay. Just more people are able to admit they're gay.
Hold on. You don't get fewer. Well, hold on. Wait, stop. Okay. Was it like 30% of the population always, like in Roman times? For about 30%, would you say?
I'm just saying.
No, it was like this is
the falling birth rates have nothing to do with
if you have
gay
more
people.
If you have more
That's
gays,
just copium, man.
Do you have fewer children?
We don't have more gays.
We've got way more gays.
No. We have more people who are not afraid to say they're gay.
They're letting their freak flag fly.
They are actually gay, Tucker. They just haven't been able to admit it.
So why isn't that the case like in Asia?
What do you mean?
I don't think there's no Asian country, and they're not all like putting gays in jail. Malaysia might be. Korea's not. South Korea. Why is their self-described homosexuality rate so much lower than yours? Japan, same.
Because culturally, it is not a thing.
So it's genetic. You think it's genetic?
No, it's cultural.
No. People become gay.
But last World Cup.
Wait, but how do people become gay?
Let me give you the World Cup is coming.
I'm talking about soccer.
I'm telling you why.
I want to talk about the gay thing.
I'm telling you why.
How they become gay? Why are you gay?
1 in 4 countries in the last World Cup actually outlaw being homosexual. It's a criminal offense. Do you think that's right?
I don't care.
We should care.
Okay, I really care.
You've
got people arrested for using the word faggot. That's who I feel sorry for. This chick from Britain.
So you feel very exercised about that.
Yeah, she's in Great Britain. She's not in some primitive theocracy.
Are you not as exercised about people being arrested and put in a prison cell for their sexuality?
Once again, you don't have to have discrimination to understand science. Like, those two things don't have to go hand in hand. You cannot discriminate against gay people and people's choices on who they love and their sexuality, while understanding that it is a learned behavior through stimulus response. But that's the argument they always use.
If they're gay. Why do you feel as angry about that?
Because it's not my culture. It's not my country. It's not.
Come on.
Well, I'm not for arresting any. I'm for arresting very few people.
You think people should be arrested for their sexuality?
Of course not.
What, do you agree with me?
It's not what he's saying.
Okay, I will not, also a talk show host, you're not going to get me off my path. And my path leads to this question. How do people become gay? Why?
They don't become gay.
What? Are they born gay?
Yes.
How does that work?
They're born gay.
How?
They have a sexual attraction.
No.
To their
I
own
understand
sex.
the manifestations, the symptoms.
The symptoms?
Yeah, the symptoms. The symptoms of my...
They're born gay.
Okay. So that means it's
You
genetic.
may not want to
that means
acknowledge that.
No, I'm just asking how it works.
That.
So there's a gay gene.
You said you worked with lots of gay people.
Hold on.
Right.
There's a gay
Did
gene.
you not have this conversation with actual gay people?
Yeah, a lot of them say I got molested. That's why I'm gay. In fact, a really good friend of mine who's gay, so I got molested. That's why I'm gay.
All gay people are gay because they got molested?
No.
Stimulants, response. Your first sexual experience has a lot of control on how you view sexuality throughout the rest of your life. When they put dogs in a kennel and zap them for eating out of one bowl but not out the other, they tend to go back to that other bowl, not the one they were zapped from.
I don't think that. But I am wondering, I don't know the answer. But I would
say the absolute vast majority of gay people are gay because they are actually attracted to members of their own sex.
No. But again, that's a manifestation. That's a
natural.
It's not a question of whether or not they're actually attracted. They absolutely are actually attracted. It's a question of how that came to fruition and why the rates of that have gone up and down throughout civilizations in history. And right now we're at a peak gayness in the Western world.
Thing.
You're not. Let's just do science for 30 seconds. Of course, you're right. That's the definition of gay. I'm attracted to someone of my same sex.
Do you believe that?
Do I believe that they're attracted to people from their own sex?
Yes.
Well, obviously, they have sex with them.
Okay.
So that's what attraction.
So what's the big deal? Why do you care?
My question, because the self-reported incidence of it has risen. So we were told 30 years ago, and I have a good memory, it's about 10%. But the actual
because people were being mercilessly
listen. But the self-reported rate was like 5%. Then it's 10%. Now it's like 30%. So my question is, were they all born that way? 30% of a population is born homosexual? As an evolutionary matter, you tell me how that works. How do you reproduce?
It's not 30% of the population.
In the United States, in a lot of places, it is 30%.
It's not here. Not 30%.
Way higher here based on the vibe.
What is way higher is the number of people compared to 30.
But where does it come from?
30 years ago.
Is it genetic and where's the gene?
30 years ago, gay people were persecuted.
I know, I've heard the story.
No, they
We were commemorating Stonewall the other day at my house. I'm on board with all of this stuff. Yeah, the candlelight vigil, we always do it every year. Every February 9th, I arrest my kids in this kind of mock Stonewall thing.
What do you do if one of your kids...
They say, I just want to be free, and then I unlock the handcuffs.
What happens if one of your kids says they're gay?
I love my kids no matter what. I love my kids no matter what they did. They're my children.
Would you think someone had turned them into a gay person? Or would you accept them as a natural
I'm a journalist, so I actually want to know what the real answer is, not the bullshit propaganda answer.
What would you say to them?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. You say people are born gay.
It would be because of dozens of cultural and stimulus response factors. It's not like a one-time experience. Like I said, the first sexual experience and stuff can definitely be a big factor in starting them down that journey, but then that journey gets reinforced multiple times over and over and over and over and over. And that's what creates an orientation, whether it's normal, deviant, abnormal, whatever. Like, this is psychologically accepted for everything except, are you attracted to men or women? Anything else, counsel somebody with a foot fetish or anything else, like, they look at these same things. What started the attraction? What reinforced it? What reinforced it? What reinforced it? What reinforced it? And then if people want to break that pattern, then they start doing negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement into something different. And then over time, that changes the attraction. It's just crazy that somehow people think that saying that is bigoted or homophobic or anything, when it's literally like you have to throw away basically all of psychology if you want to say that the way you act, the things you're attracted to, desire, make your tongue salivate, everything else, all of that is just inherently in your genes, and nothing that happens in your life affects that at all. That's basically what you have to say if you're going to say somebody's born gay or born straight. Nothing affects it. You're just that way, period. Well, no, that's not what all of the psychological science throughout history has told us. Your genes may put you in a body to where you're more predispositioned towards certain things, just like a bird that can't fit its beak into the inside of its tree to get squirrel nuts might start eating fruits. And then after a while of that being its only subsistence, it starts liking fruits. Well, that bird wasn't born liking fruits. That bird would have liked the nuts if it could access the nuts, but because of its beak, it couldn't get to them. So it had to eat fruit. And then that stimulant's response of positive reinforcement every time they ate fruit, getting fulfilled, gives their body a natural reward, which then makes them want fruit. Like, that's evolution, that's psychology, that's all these things. Like,
What you would do.
You don't want to answer because you don't have an answer because you know that your answer's bullshit.
No, my answer's correct.
That they're born that way.
They're born gay.
Then is there a gene for it? And you know there isn't. So tell me, a gene, it's the code that determines your physical and emotional characteristics. You have blue eyes because you have a gene for blue eyes.
Right.
If someone is gay, then there should be a gene that we can isolate and say it's the gay gene. And science has been looking for the gay gene for a long time. And my question is, where is it? I'm waiting on my gay gene. I ordered a gay gene and it hasn't arrived yet. Waiter, where's my gay gene?
Sounds to me like you might be.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my gay gene. And if there isn't a gay gene, then it's totally within bounds. It's not homophobia. It's not hate. I don't want to arrest people in Liberia or whatever the hell you're talking about. I just want to know, what is this? And no one will answer the question. And I don't know why. It's weird, right? Why can't we have a non-emotional conversation with, why are you gay? As they say in Nigeria, why are you gay? And no one will answer it.
Well, in Nigeria, it's a criminal offense to be gay.
I don't know.
You think there aren't gay people in Nigeria?
I haven't been there in a while.
Of course there are gay people in Nigeria.
But where does it come from?
But they can't admit
and you can't answer the question.
Because if they admit they're gay, they get put in prison. That can't be right? You're a guy.
Oh, you should be putting someone in prison because he says he's gay? Of course I'm against that.
Right.
I mean, please.
Not because he says he's gay, but because he's gay.
In extreme third world, you guys don't bring Nigerians here, do you?
We have a lot of Nigerians here.
What? You import gay haters into your country? I thought you were for the gays. No, I'm serious. Why would you import? You're just telling me that the Nigerians are bad. You said you basically hate Nigerians.
As you know, Tucker, there are lots of countries around the world with
Tucker
different
really wants
laws
him to get arrested.
But why would you import them? If you love the gays,
ideology.
Why would you import people?
Because when they come here, they have to abide by our laws. That's how it works.
And your values. So what are those values?
No, actually, you don't have to come here with our values.
Oh.
You have to come here and abide by our laws.
And your laws include not using the word faggot. That's against the law.
I just think, why would you do that and just be offensive for the sake of it?
I totally agree with you. I never use that word. I'm just being honest. I never use that word, ever. I think it's maybe the first time I've used it since the 80s. But it's not a matter of custom. It's a matter of law because this woman, mother of four, wound up in prison for it.
He's trying to make a point.
So if that's going to be the law, it's obviously like the most important. It's so important to you that people not insult gays in any way. You can insult straights.
You can insult gays as much as you like.
Well, no, you can't. You get arrested and you go to jail.
I don't know that story. I'm going to look into it. But as I said to you,
I'm going to hand it to you right here. Okay. Here it is.
I don't think people should be arrested for using words like that. I agree.
There should be social disapproval.
You should be allowed to be hateful under freedom of speech.
Amen. I totally agree.
If you're not
100%.
actually inciting violence against people, which is a different thing.
I agree.
Exactly.
We should agree. If I say, go and stab Tucker Carlson and he's staying at this hotel right now,
I agree.
It's a criminal offense.
Totally
There's already a law and statute in both our countries for that.
So I can tell that we were both born in the 1960s because we totally agree on the underlying human right, which is the core human right, which is the right to conscience and self-expression. And both of us are on exactly the same page. Where I lose you is your whole world is crumbling around you. I'm worried that's going to happen in my country, which is why I'm hassling you.
My whole world's great. In fact, it couldn't be better.
The restaurants are better. I totally get it. That's what matters.
If I'd known you were in town yesterday, I'd have taken you to the Emirates Stadium to watch my football team, Arsenal, beat our North London rivals 4-1. It was the most joyous, magnificent experience imaginable. You would have seen a multicultural crowd roaring as one.
It's incredible.
Jews, Muslims, white, black,
love it,
gay,
love it,
straight, all joined as one as Arsenal fans.
It's what the church used to be, except they charge you admission. I get it. I know what bread and circus
well,
is.
Actually, the church used to charge you admission in the old.
We had Martin Luther for that, and we couldn't fix them. And Henry VIII played along, so God bless you for that. But here's the point.
No, but here's my point. If I took you to the Devonshire For a pint of Guinness, you'd love it. If I took you to Arsenal, to a massive multicultural stadium of fans, you'd love it. 60,000 people, no trouble, no aggravation.
I'm here voluntarily. I love it. I just don't want it to evaporate into...
It's not evaporating.
Okay.
We have
challenges. Why aren't you more panicked that thousands of people, by their own admission, the admission of the British government, arrested every year for saying words, not threats, words.
I am. I've expressed
So why doesn't someone try to overthrow the government? I don't understand. How can they treat you like slaves if you put up with it?
If they carry on down that road...
Well, they are carrying it on. It's thousands a year, and it's getting more.
Then they will be voted out of office.
Voted
I guarantee
out?
it. Yes. That's how
Is that what Winston Churchill would say? I think Winston Churchill said, even if a strong man tries to take Poland, a country we've got nothing to do with, it's not even close to here, we're going to risk the lives of our citizens to liberate Poland.
Poland is closer to here than your home is to New York.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So it's all relative. So
well, it's a tiny little Lego Europe. Right, I get it.
If Maine got attacked, would you expect people in New
Poland
York to
has
help
nothing.
you?
Yeah, a lot of people in the U.S. have a hard time really picturing how large it is compared to other countries. But like all of Europe is like one coast of the U.S. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, people talk about how Americans don't travel, but a lot of Americans, if you've traveled around the U.S. like I have, you've probably traveled longer distances than a lot of people in Europe. So they can drop their little side comments.
To do
hang on, if Maine got attacked, would you expect people in New York to help you?
It's the same country.
Okay. But you're actually further...
kind of a big distinction.
Well,
my country's quite large.
We were part of Europe, the same continent.
You were not part of... I call bullshit on that.
Really?
In 1940, you were not part of Europe.
You don't think... Well, of course we're
you
on
were
Europe.
Definitely not part
We're
of...
on the continent of Europe.
You are not on the continent. You're an island, dude, off the continent, separated by a body of water. Do you know what it's called between you and France? It's called the English Channel.
I know what
You were not part of Europe. That is not true.
We are part of
My ancestors lived here. You were not... You were England.
We are part of Europe.
France was considered exotic and crazy. That's where the prostitutes and the cheese eaters lived. It's only the brainwashing of Tony Blair and all these technocrats since who've convinced you you're European. You're way better than European. You're an ancient Germanic Celtic people who ruled the world. Do you remember that in your wooden ships? Anyway, but the point is... No, I'm serious.
You
did.
Talk some crap sometimes.
No,
anyway,
it's totally real.
Crap. Come on.
With the mass from Maine, White Pines. But the point is, your country went to war to preserve human rights in another country you had nothing to do with, but human rights are evaporating in your own country, and it's cool because you have soccer games with foreigners at them and good burrata.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
It is pretty ridiculous when you really think about it, isn't it?
Saying maybe something about the heroic British spirit has been diminished with time. That's all I'm saying.
But there is a very lovely, quaint notion being built up in the United States, driven by people like Tommy Robinson here.
Who's Tommy Robinson?
You know Tommy Robinson.
He seems like a fraud to me.
Well, he's not even Tommy Robinson. His name's Stephen Yaxley. It's not even his real name. He's also convicted of multiple crimes, thuggery, fraud.
I don't even know anything about him, but he doesn't seem like he's that into Britain.
We would call him a little shit stirrer, right? However,
but the real people here, the actual Britons,
but this idea that he's driven, that we're on the verge of some sort of civil war here. Do you feel that when you walk around?
No, because that's my point. You're so passive.
We're not passive.
They take your human rights away, and you're like, oh, defending Ukraine is so important. We're so proud to have defended Poland's territorial integrity 80 years ago. It's like, great. Yeah. I'm so glad.
I'm very proud of that.
Apparently. Yeah. But it's all a kind of displacement where you're taking your own frustrations with yourselves and your own cowardice and sort of living in this Walter Mitty world. We're like, no, actually, we're brave. We're going to defend Ukraine. It's like, what about defend yourselves against the monsters?
What's wrong with defending Ukraine?
It's like 8th on the list. Defend yourself. Defend your human rights. They can't put you in jail for saying naughty words.
Sure.
Period.
I agree.
So march on the Capitol. Get these people out. Scare them.
Yeah.
Do to them what you did to the Germans in Poland, which you would like to do to the Russians in
But the way
Eastern
it works,
Ukraine.
We are a democratic society.
I agree. I think people need to be a lot more pissed when a government is overstepping at that level, throwing you in jail for just saying words. Like that shouldn't be let's wait till the next election type of thing. That should be a riot in the street type of thing. That's ridiculous. Like I said, unless it falls under those categories, of threatening violence or, treason, things like that. But just saying something like what Tucker's been saying and going to jail? No.
Society with
not in a free society, at least.
How is it democratic? Nobody wants
If a government overreaches, and I think on free speech they've lost the plot, if they do, they will get, I can guarantee you, voted out of...
When was the last time Britons voted for millions of foreigners to come to their country?
Well, you don't. You vote for a government that makes decisions.
You don't ever vote for that. So the biggest thing that's ever happened in your history, nobody voted for.
People flag up what their policies are going to be. But actually what it's been is a systematic failure to control our borders going back, I would say, 25 years. That's really what's happened.
Just all I'm saying is it doesn't seem democratic. It doesn't seem that's what the people want at all.
I agree. It's now become a massive issue. And the big issue actually is because they put a lot of these so-called asylum seekers, and many of them are not, they're economic seekers who want a better life here. I don't blame them. It's a great country to come to. But a lot of them are being put in.
Same thing in the US, by the way. Like a lot of our quote unquote asylum seekers are seeking asylum for money. Like they're not seeking asylum because they have any actual fear. They're seeking asylum because they're sick of being poor and they think they can be richer living here, which is true. But the more of them show up, the less that goes around for everybody else. So at what point is enough enough? How much is too much or too little? I think we're seeing what too much looked like. I won't comment on the rest, but
really nice quality hotels. And while they're being processed, sometimes for 2 years, 3 years, they're living a very comfortable, luxurious life in neighborhoods where there is real abject poverty. And that is what is causing a lot of unrest. And I get that. And I have great sympathy with the people who live in those areas who are really struggling to feed their kids, who are seeing these people coming in on the boats illegally and being put in fancy hotels. That has to stop. And you also have to process these people a lot quicker for their sake and for the country's. Are you a genuine asylum seeker? I never want this country to be a place that rejects genuine asylum seekers.
Why?
Well, because actually I believe that we have a duty to take care of people who are genuinely
fleeing.
How
about your own people?
Well, what about fleeing war-torn countries where we started the war?
Well, and that keeps being the argument from the right on immigration here, right? Like when we have homeless people, veterans that are having trouble, the economy tanking, the housing market in crisis. Why are we bringing in 10% worth of our nation's more people and helping them out and not helping out the citizens of our country? That's where people get pissed. If 99.9% of Americans were thriving and able to buy a home and live comfortably, and there was low homeless and low unemployment, and the economy was booming, I don't think immigration would be such a big issue as it is today. But that's not where we're at, and Biden brought them in anyway.
What about people?
Stop starting wars. You're doing it again.
Okay, but one of us opposed the Iraq war at the time, and it wasn't you.
I've been atoning for it ever since. I was one of the worst offenders.
I led the campaign here against the Iraq war. It cost me my job in the end. I led
for you.
I led a front page assault on that.
You should stick with that. You should stick with that.
Well, I agree. I take a lot of. I like to look at each war in isolation. Well, I do.
I get it. Piers Morgan, I know you've got a job. You've been so gracious in defending your country.
By the way, I meant to start with this. Until today, I had no idea that you appeared on Dancing with the Stars.
I didn't. That's AI.
Somebody tweeted the clip today with two friends of mine, Len Goodman, sadly no longer with us, Bruno Tonioli, ripping you a new one.
Of course.
For your dancing. I don't
really think their attacks had much to do with my appearance.
You are many things.
Stars. I'm just suspecting.
There was a point. You didn't really do much dancing. And as Bruno put it, the problem started when you actually danced.
You know, honestly.
Has your dancing improved?
My dancing is pretty good. I have a little trouble taking instruction. But, you know, I would just say what they always say when the nude pictures of the porno tape emerge years later. I was young and I needed the money. Okay. Piers Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending all this time.
Welcome to
great
my
to see
country.
You. It is a lovely
interview.
Country. Actually, I just have to say that.
Well, I thought that was a fantastic interview. It was really interesting. I felt like Piers was holding back on a lot of stuff because of the prosecutorial political climate that seems to be happening in the UK. Even if he tries to deny that, he's obviously being very careful about his words and has been very trained to express his opinion in a way that doesn't cross that specific line that they've laid out, which doesn't really sound like free speech to me. I thought they had a bunch of interesting discussions there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, let's get back to work, guys. Keep praying. I'll see you in the next one.